Leading up to this class, I didn't really understand why people were walking away from organized religion. I didn't have a problem with other religions, but it meant a lot to me to belong to a faith, and so I was confused. I would wonder, how can someone just believe in nothing? Or at least to me before this class, not belonging to a faith was believing in nothing. Hey, just trying to be honest. But due to my conversation in this class, I've realized that is not at all how this works. Religion and spirituality are not black and white. When someone mentioned the idea of spirituality being as simple as going into nature, I noticed that spirituality was a concept I knew very little about. I learned that there are different ways to motivate yourself in this world, and I was very close-minded to all of these ways. Now, I'm focusing on this identity by learning to listen and ask questions. This is an identity I need to continue to explore, and I know that I have biases that I need to work on, but I can say I'm aware. And for me, that is the first step to being able to honestly support my students regarding their spirituality and religion.
I identify as Christian and have served my church and community for the majority of my life, while my parents did the same. Even at a young age, I felt led to make disciples because that's what I was taught. Going through life centering Christ of all relationships, friendships, conversations, and events. Over the years, my relationship with the Lord transformed into a foundation on which I stand. My peace in chaos, my rock, my relationship. I place an emphasis on my because I think it's important to recognize it's no one's belief but my own. I feel like God has led me to love people, and when I chose to be in student affairs, my parents believed it was my mission to go on to campuses and spread the gospel. I have had many conversations with my parents about how my role as an educator is to create a space for students to feel welcomed, appreciated, accepted, and valued. I'm not there to impose my beliefs onto anyone. My beliefs are my own, and I have no intention of trying to persuade someone to practice my religion. Throughout this course, I have learned from so many of my colleagues in this class about how their identities are marginalized in certain spaces and situations. This has opened my eyes to a whole entire group of people, religious minorities.
And honestly, that's a good point. I personally need to open my mind and reframe my ideas on spirituality and religion, especially regarding these students. I used to gloss over this identity because I was privileged enough to think that since I was in the majority identity, it was not an important factor to think about. However, this is an identity that plays a major factor in many of our students' lives. Because from students being religiously oppressed to being forced out of their families to students just learning what it all means to them, I need to be able and willing to have those conversations and support students in finding the best way for them to thrive. In this